Hello and welcome, listeners. In today's FinPod episode, we will uncover the significance of GDP, an essential economic indicator. On Tuesday, 16th April 2024, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) raised India's growth forecast for 24-25 to 6.8% from 6.5% due to strong domestic demand and a rising working age population. The agency also revised the growth figure for 23-24 to 7.8% from the 6.7% forecast in January. What does GDP mean? GDP is gross domestic product. Let us break down the concept of gross domestic product into its complete form. By doing so, we can understand this essential economic indicator, empowering us to make informed financial decisions. Please understand this very carefully. GDP represents the total monetary value of goods and services produced within a country's borders over a specific period, typically a quarter or a year. To put it in perspective, let's say a country produces 100 cars and each car is worth rupees 5 lakh. The GDP would be rupees 50 million in this case. This means the country's economy is producing goods and services worth rupees 50 million in that period. In economics, goods and services are consumed by households, businesses, and government. Economists can use GDP to determine whether an economy is growing or experiencing a recession. This means that GDP is not just a local indicator, but a global one, measuring a nation's economic well-being. It is used worldwide as the primary measure of output and economic activity, connecting us all in economics. Each country prepares and publishes its GDP data regularly. International organizations such as the World Bank and the IMF periodically publish and maintain historical GDP data for many countries. Now, how is GDP estimated or measured? The GDP percentage which we see in news is measured in three ways. First is expenditure, second is output, and third is income. Starting with expenditure, what is it? The value of goods and services bought by households and government, as well as investment in things like machinery, buildings, etc. These also includes the value of exports minus imports. Next is output, the total value of goods and services produced by all sectors of the economy like agriculture, manufacturing, energy, construction, the service sector, and government. And last, income, the value of income generated mainly in profits and wages. Also, let us know the constituents of GDP. Because GDP represents the total economic output of a country, it involves four essential components. First, personal consumption expenditures, total amount of money citizens spend on goods and services. Second, government spending. Third, business investment. And fourth, net exports, which is exports minus imports. So you get the following formula. GDP is equal to personal consumption expenditures plus government spending plus business investment plus net exports. This formula shows that GDP is the sum of all the money spent on goods and services in the economy. For GDP, the most basic interpretation is that a high GDP represents a growing economy in which people make more and spend better. This is good news for businesses, indicating increased product and service demand. Conversely, when the GDP falls, the economy shrinks, reducing business activity and job losses. This can have significant implications for workers, underscoring the real-world impact of economic indicators. We have seen all the good things about GDP until now, but it only provides a partial scenario of any economy. Let us examine its limitations. While the GDP is a widely used indicator of economic growth, it has limitations. It fails to take into account specific situations such as the distribution of income across a population. This means that a rise in GDP could result from the rich getting richer rather than an improvement in the standard of living for everyone. Understanding these limitations can help us interpret GDP data more critically and consider other factors that may influence economic well-being. Moreover, unpaid work such as caring for children, family members, or older people is not factored into GDP calculations. That means, for example, that a baker who produces a cake for a customer would contribute to GDP but would not contribute to GDP if he baked the exact cake for his family, although the ingredients he purchased would be counted. The other interesting thing is that just because GDP is increasing does not mean a person's standard of living is being enhanced. If a country's population increases, it drives GDP up because more people will disburse more money. However, individuals within that country might need to get wealthier. They may be getting poorer on average even while GDP goes up. This is from my side. In the upcoming episode, I will delve into the correlation between the stock market and GDP and the types of GDP. Thank you for your attention, and I hope this information proves to be valuable. Thank you for tuning into FinPod.